So there we were in there partying, like some folks from their neighborhood came in there. They were talking about their gang. They pulled out a gun and started shooting. I turned my back, I hear a gunshot. Turn the lights on, you see Travis bleeding out on the floor. I remember me taking off my shirt and wipe blood from his mouth. I was hoping he'll make it, but after a while, like I saw life leave his eyes. They knock at the door early in the morning. My mom said, Justin, it's the police. And then they just came in the house, shotguns pointing at me.
It was nightmares, and sometimes I still have moments when that knock on the door came and how they took him out in the expression on his face.
Bitcoin doesn't care about your track record, doesn't care about where you're from, who you voting for, who you're having sex with. There's no systemic prejudice built into the system. I'm Justin Rhedrick, an author of From Bars to Bitcoin.
Have you or someone you know had your life turned upside down because of your past?
Of course I have.
Everyone does background checks now, which makes it hard to bounce back.
What do you believe?
I believe your background shouldn't hold you back. It should pay you back. This podcast will inspire you, motivate you, and inform you with everything you need to rise above your past and not be afraid to say, go ahead, check my background. My name is Jaydan Gum, and this is Background Check.
You already know. Let's go. You can check my background. I'm a forgiving felon, so tell them that I won't back down. No. You can bet I won't live in regret. It's time to earn some respect. You are tuning in to Background Check.
Hey everyone, welcome to Background Check Podcast, where we believe your background should hold you back. She's not here today. It should pay you back. I'm Jaydan Gum, your host. Thanks once again for tuning in. Each week, it is just my privilege and honor to get to put together content for you, whether you're listening outside of prison, inside jail, inside prison. It doesn't matter where you're listening. It's our honor to put together content for you. And we have a great show for you today. Justin Rhedrick. I met him online through LinkedIn, through some Zoom call, and he is an author. He wrote a book called From Bars to Bitcoin, and he did some time in prison, and you're going to enjoy this interview. The information that he gives you, take notes, because you're going to need it when you get out, all right? But just real quick, Jessa, I'm not going to tell, I'm going to tell a joke, but I'm not going to tell the jokes that you've been sending in because I want to wait till Jessa gets back because she will kill me if I don't let her read some of those. I do want to give a shout out to Bobby Simmons. Bobby Simmons. Okay, let's see. I don't know what unit you're on, but Miss Simmons, I think your sister, is a good friend of ours. She taught Jessa in K3 or K4, one of those two. So we love Miss Simmons, and Bobby, we love you too, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's see, birthday shout out. We got a Josh Carlson. I know your birthday is coming up on the 30th, and I just want to say happy early birthday to you, man. All right. So, yeah, that's it. I want to do a little devotion from Nehemiah 8:10. This comes from the English Standard Version. It says, despite difficulties and overwhelming circumstances. Are you in a place that describes? Whether you're in prison, out of prison, doesn't matter. Are you in a place that difficulties and overwhelming circumstances describes? Despite that, he declared, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So listen, I am coming from a difficult place right now because the truck is not fixed. We had a computer programmer come over, did some software updates, and lasted 5 days. So that's the second longest time it lasted. But you guys pray for me because this is an overwhelming and difficult situation. Yes, all the advice is great, but we paid a lot of money cash for that truck, and we only got about a year and 2 months drive time out of it. And so we feel like we want to try to get as much with this transmission fix as possible so we can get some more value out of the truck. And so y'all pray that we find somebody. We're going to have to pay for another whole transmission rebuild more than likely. So, and those are expensive for these 10 speeds, and evidently it's not really guaranteed. So y'all pray that the next place we take it to will maybe accept a payment plan, but we'll also know how to fix it because we just need it fixed. And, paying another $6,000 to have that fixed is cheaper than trying to go trade it in and only getting $10,000 for it and then being in debt for a long time. So I'm in a difficult situation, and it's overwhelming because we're paying a lot in rental cars, and we need 2 cars, and I got Christmas light season coming up. I'm trying to go to a couple out-of-state prisons, so y'all pray, all right? But I'm going to make it. I still believe. I believe that God can turn anything. He can bring good out of any situation. I don't know how he's going to do this. He's working behind the scenes, but I believe. Do you believe with me? And I receive all those prophetic words you guys in prison have written, believing for the truck. All right, I believe it. Whether God wants to give a new truck or a new transmission, either way, I receive it. Okay, I want to share this. This joke. All right, this is not a joke anybody sit in, but this goes with the joy of the Lord is our strength. Listen, guys, I know how hot it is, how hard it is in prison right now. The drugs, by the way, we got some really good teaching series coming up, maybe in October, November. I have a spiritual warfare pastor that's going to come on. We're going to go through a series of teaching about spiritual warfare, strongholds. So y'all get ready. Get ready. We're fixing to turn the prisons upside down through this podcast. All right. But the joy of the Lord is our strength, despite difficulties and circumstances. Okay. Overwhelming circumstances. And if you're in prison, you're right there. And you may be going through this outside of prison as well. But the joy of the Lord is your strength. Happiness is different than joy. Joy is deep. Happiness is surface. I am happy when I get to buy me a Whataburger with cheese and bacon, mayonnaise and onions only. Or the sweet and spicy bacon burger. I love both of those. It makes me happy. It doesn't give me joy. Okay. It makes me happy. All right. It actually gives me a little, gas and heartburn afterwards, but it makes me happy. All right. But that's surface, superficial. Okay. Joy is something you choose. Happiness, you don't choose happiness. Happiness is a result of something that happened to you. That's why it's called happiness. All right. Joy is something you choose. Paul says, I will rejoice in the Lord. He's declaring that I will do this even though I'm in prison. Okay. Nehemiah says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. You have a choice to choose joy. Okay. And when you choose joy, you become strong. You become strong. So I just want to give you a little joke to help you stay strong today. All right, here goes. The joke goes like this. I saw a homeless man and I asked him, if I gave him $20, would you buy a beer? He said no, he hadn't had a beer in years. Then I said, if I give you $20, will you buy car parts? He again said no, I got rid of my race car 15 years ago. So then I said, okay, I'll do you better than $20. I'll take you home and get you all cleaned up. My wife will cook you a fantastic meal for you. Then I'll bring you back and I'll still give you $20. And he said, won't she get mad? And I said, it didn't matter. I just wanted her to see what happens to a man when he stops drinking and building race cars. I thought that was hilarious. All right. I know you're laughing. All right. We got a great episode coming up. We're going to pray. Are you ready? Father, thank you for everyone listening on the other side of that camera, Lord. Lord, I'm all alone in this studio with you, and someone else out there on the other side of the camera might feel all alone in a cell, in a gym working out, in bed while they're listening. And Lord, I just pray right now, just as your Holy Spirit is with me in this studio, that you be with them. Emmanuel, God with us. Father, I pray that people who have been depressed, we speak the joy of the Lord over their life. We speak joy into their situation. And Lord, I speak the ability to choose joy. Like Paul said, I will rejoice. And Father, I just thank you that we have power over the devil and his depression, his oppression. And I thank you that today, someone right there, you know who you are, you're going to choose joy. In fact, say it right now. I choose joy. I choose joy. No matter what you're going through. You may have just got denied parole. You may just lost your job. You may be going through a transmission issue like me. I choose joy. And Father, I thank you. I praise you that even though I'm still in the difficulties and overwhelming situations, that I'm praising you like you've already delivered me from them. I thank you for that new transmission. I thank you for that new truck. I thank you for getting me out of this situation. And Lord, we love you. I thank you for healing somebody right now. Right now. If you need healing, just lift your hands to God. Lift your hands to God. Father, touch everyone whose hands are raised right now. Touch them. You know what they need healing of. You know what they need healing from. Touch them in their body right now, Lord, from their head to their toe. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, guys, y'all enjoyed this From Bars to Bitcoin episode with Justin Rhedrick. We are going to try to get him in prisons. Hopefully I can get back in this fall. And y'all pray if you have a chaplain who wants to vouch for me after mid-October so it doesn't take so long to get me back in, let me know. All right. I'm ready. We're ready. I got a worship team. I got prayer warriors ready to come in to your units. All right. Hopefully we'll get to North Dakota and Arizona. We're still waiting on Arizona. So anyway, all right. Love y'all. Don't let your background hold you back. Make it pay you back. Have a great weekend and see you next week.
Bitcoin doesn't care about your track record, doesn't care about where you're from, who you voting for, who you're having sex with. There's no systemic prejudice built into the system. I'm Justin Rhedrick, an author of From Bars to Bitcoin. I grew up in Charlotte. Most of my life was spent around playing basketball and just being with my mom for the most part. It was just me and her growing up.
He is from the time he was a little one, very joyful, very excitable.
This is me here in kindergarten.
He enjoyed being around people. But Justin tried to get a job, and that did become difficult. I think that the crowd that he hung out with presented a quick approach to getting out of the situations that you're in. Messing around with substances also clouded his judgment. And I think with me working the way that I was working, I didn't recognize the shift until it was a little late. I think all of it stemmed from the grief from Travis and not being able to process it.
So we were in there partying, like some folks from their neighborhood came in there. They were talking about their gang. They pulled out a gun and started shooting. I turned my back, I hear a gunshot. Turn the lights on, you see Travis bleeding out on the floor. I remember me taking off my shirt and wiping blood from his mouth. I was hoping he'll make it. But after a while, like I saw life leave his eyes. Took place right in there. I needed money. I was still dealing with what was going on, what took place with Travis. Like sometimes I'll wake up in sweats or to gunshots, thinking somebody's shooting outside, but it's in my dream. I was in a desperate survival mode. I felt no one could hear me. So I ended up leaning on people who did. And that was people that I knew from my neighborhood. A person was telling me about how come up on some money. There's this guy they know. He's a scammer. So that means you should keep cash on him, was what most people think. We drive up late at night, we just walked around trying to search his house, see if he had some money. The man calls the police, and we just all take off running.
Charlotte-Mecklenburg police need your help identifying men they say are connected to a home invasion. So if you know who these men are, please call police.
We get a knock at the door early in the morning. My mom said, Justin, it's the police. And then they just came in the house, shotguns pointing at me.
It was nightmares, and sometimes I still have moments when that knock on the door came and how they took him out in the expression on his face.
She was shocked. She was hurt. She wanted to know how she could save her son. After being in prison for about 8 months, I didn't think about going home anymore. I knew that the more engulfed I got, the faster the time would go. I never owned a watch. I never looked at a calendar. None of that. I just went by what the sun was doing outside. It's up, it's down. It's up, it's down. However, it wasn't until like we started playing sports, I started to see prison differently. And Caledonia was where I fell in love with boxing, which helped my time pass by tremendously. So I met this guy named Kirk at Caledonia. Kirk was my very first boxing trainer. He just taught me how to, he only had time to work on my footwork and balance. And so I would go out there every day working on that footwork. The greatest thing I learned in prison was you don't need to know nothing to do something. Only thing you need to understand is that you gotta work day by day. I didn't really know nothing, but I learned it. It wasn't until I started doing these type of things, I was like, man, this is what you need in the everyday world. When I came home, I realized that I'm in the same financial predicament I was in that I tried to get out of with the crime I committed. Couldn't get any jobs. I tried working for 2 men in a truck, that failed. I tried to apply for valet trash, got denied. PF Change as a dishwasher, got denied. And I was being denied because I had a felony record and entrepreneurship was gonna be my only route.
Brother, can you spare a Bitcoin?
It exists only online. Tell you the truth, I honestly don't get it. Why not use regular dollars?
Bitcoins. You never heard of them a few weeks ago? Now everybody's talking about them, but is it a currency?
I don't know. Or is it more like a stock? Or is it a tulip bulb?
Or is
We're
it
going to
just
debate that.
stupid?
When I first learned about Bitcoin, first heard about it, and I was like, bro, what is this? But I said, well, let me learn it. Don't take the initial, I guess, toughness of the subject. Don't let that stop you. Go learn this. I was interested in Bitcoin seriously because it was nothing at the time. It was 2016. Less than 1% in the world was there. And no black people were there. So around that time, I launched a Bitcoin consulting agency to help people like me learn about managing money. I also wrote a book to share my experience. Bitcoin's culture brought together people who have freedom attached somewhere in their mind. Even if you come for money, some people come to Bitcoin. I want freedom of my money. I don't really care about being rich. I want to get rich. I don't care about freedom. I just don't want the government in my, all of these people come together, they converge together. In my experience, the black community doesn't focus on teaching what money is and how to build wealth through entrepreneurship. If you have zero wealth and zero financial literacy, you just think it's normal to go to jail over money. And we need to change that dynamic. I want to show what owning your own future looks like from someone who's done it from the bottom up, and that they can do it too.
Justin, Rhedrick, my man, what's up?
Life, man, life. How you doing?
Man, that is the most incredible documentary. I love it. It's, I mean, they did a great job at documenting your journey and your story, telling your story. And I love it, man. Let me ask you this. When did the idea for that documentary come about?
The idea for the documentary came from a guy that works, who used to work for a company called Compass Mining. His name is Will Foxley. I was introduced to him by somebody else who used to work there, by Neil Galloway, and what Will does is he creates content. He's a director, he's a filmmaker. And so he heard about the story. He said he read the book and he wanted to film it and put my story together out there so people could see it. And yeah, so I never really thought about, well, I did think about a documentary, but I just didn't know how it's gonna come together. And then I meet Neil, and Neil introduces me to Will, and Will flies out to Charlotte and puts me in front of the camera for hours and hours. So it was a great experience.
It's a big task to do a documentary. We Forgiven Felons has a documentary of our own, and man, whew. And I had already been out of prison for a long time, but some of these guys that were in the documentary had just done time like yourself. And yeah. So I know it was, well, that's cool, man. You've been on the show before, so we want to thank you for coming back for round 2. a lot has transpired since round one. And first of all, how's your mom doing?
My mom's doing good. We're about to celebrate her birthday next month. She'll be
Okay.
70, so
Woo, all
real good.
right. All right. That's awesome. All right. Any other family in your life doing well?
Yeah, my fiance's doing well. My son, my children, they all doing good. My daughter started school. She's a swimmer.
All
She's uh
right.
she swam in 4 swim meets this year. And just growing up, man, and
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they
just
are.
watch them take off.
Yeah. And it's good that we're talking about this because we should invest in Bitcoin to help us eventually pay for all these school supplies. Um, by the time they get to high school, man, golly, I got one in junior high this year, and
Oh,
my
oh,
goodness, my
it's
goodness,
scary.
she got in trouble first day of school for her uniform. Her dress is not a uniform, but just whatever she wore, and we bought three of those things that she wore. So now she can't wear none of them, and so it's like, all right, all right. But man, just we watched the documentary already, but just introduce yourself to our listeners. We have some new listeners now because we're on video. So a lot of people that have been in for 3 years or so have maybe already heard your audio podcast and your testimony. Now they've watched the documentary, but there's
Yeah.
a whole nother several 100,000 people that have never seen your face, heard your voice. So give a little quick introduction and tell us what you're doing now. Go ahead and add what you're doing now that you weren't doing back then.
Okay. How you doing, everybody? I'm Justin. I'm pretty sure you watched the documentary and you've seen my story from bars to Bitcoin. So I'm the guy behind the video. But again, thank you, Jay, for bringing me. And currently now, what we're doing, we have a nonprofit called the Bitcoin Transformation Community. Last time I was on, I wasn't talking about that at all.
No, you weren't.
I don't even think did I ever hint? I think I gave a hint at doing something with Bitcoin in prison, but that's all I could give was a hint because it was just an idea then.
No, we didn't even talk about it.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, we didn't even talk about it because and I don't remember how we got reconnected again, like how we got reconnected again, but we did. Oh, because I think we were going to go into the Florida prisons together.
yeah.
And so I don't remember when it was, but we talked again, and you told me about the Bitcoin transformation community, the nonprofit, the grant, the workshop, all that.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a nonprofit and we were awarded a grant from Block and during to complete phase 1 of our tour. And on that tour we visited the Forgiven Felons in Dallas, Texas. Um,
Woo!
after that we had gone to Denver, Colorado, at this place called Hazelbrook Recovery and Sterling Correctional Facility. From there, gone to Flint, Michigan, and had a bit of a like not even a whole workshop, but a little bit of a seminar just to introduce people to the idea of Bitcoin at Thumb Correctional in Flint. And we had a workshop in Norco Correctional Facility in Norco, California. So we've been all over the place a bit, man, since we visited you in Dallas.
Yeah, because I don't think you had hardly anything on the schedule when you came to do the
Nah.
workshop in Dallas. So that the man, it sounds like it's really gaining traction, building momentum. I'm so happy
Yeah.
for you guys. We will get you in Texas. I promise. And I think some unit's going to be the one to say, say right now I'm still banned. So, but once I get back in there and I'm going in and they see this video, you're gonna be invited in. We're gonna be doing it. So,
Oh, it's all good,
uh,
man.
hey, so just talk a little bit about, hey, let's just dive right into Bitcoin. People that are listening in prison, you didn't know much about Bitcoin in prison. And so, right?
Right. And I didn't know nothing about Bitcoin in prison.
All right. And
I
so,
never knew Bitcoin existed in prison. But to dive in, well, let me know what part you want to talk about first.
All of it. Let's just give a brief synopsis for somebody who doesn't even know what Bitcoin is, but they hear it, but they still do not know what it is. Give a brief synopsis. You don't have to go all the way back and talk about Satoshis and Satoshis and all that, but just what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin's a cryptocurrency. Well, what is cryptocurrency? And why is it different than the dollar? You know.
Okay, well, what Bitcoin is, it is a cryptocurrency, a digital currency, the first of its kind. Its main three properties are being used as currency, like used for money, exchange of goods and services. So people call that a medium of exchange. Um, some people hold it to have a fiat value go up, like sort of like gold. You can hold it and watch the value numerically go up. And it's also one of the greatest properties, in my opinion, and what I tell people in prison is that it's decentralized, so it's freedom money. It's peer-to-peer money. You don't have government involvement. You don't have the bank, having a whole lot of say in it. You don't have the IRS having their hands in. You don't have all these intermediaries, people in the middle, middlemen, just sucking the value out the money. And it's built in a way that's based upon off mathematics and electricity. So reason I say that is you just don't have people like in the Federal Reserve just printing off money at the stroke of a pen, destroying the value of what your money can buy over time. So I
And the
think
reason
in
that and the reason that's important is because there's only so much Bitcoin made, right?
right,
There's only we can't print more Bitcoin. We can't make more Bitcoin.
hmm,
It's distributed, and you can mine for it and get rewarded for mining for it. You could just purchase Bitcoin, and
right,
so but there's no way the value is gonna be devalued by us printing more Bitcoin or
hmm.
creating more Bitcoin. And that's what I like about it, because man, we just keep printing money and printing money and printing money. And
every, every administration is printing money.
I don't know. I don't know if we have the copyright. If we have the ability to play the Fed chair video that you played at the workshop. But I think everybody needs to hear that section of where he talked about what we're doing, where we're headed is unsustainable,
It
and
was
that's
actually
important.
like it's on Twitter. I
Is
mean,
it okay?
I can send you the link. It's because sometimes people say, "Well, we don't have the copyrights," but it was on Twitter, so
I'll,
we just use
I,
it off of Twitter. We'll send you the
yeah.
link.
Yeah, I'll see it. We may be able to sometimes YouTube will be like, "Oh, this belongs to somebody else, a CBS News or whatever." But we'll figure it out. And if we can't play it on our YouTube channel, then I don't know, we'll play it. We'll do the quotes or something, because people need to know what he said.
I would say it this way. The U.S. federal budget is on an unsustainable path, meaning the debt is growing faster than the economy, and that's kind of unsustainable in the long run. That doesn't mean debt is at an unsustainable level today. It's not. We can service the debt we have, we can service the debt we're issuing, and that will remain the case for the foreseeable future.
So
Yeah, yeah. It's
all
on
right,
a,
so it's a digital currency. It's
Mhm.
not regulated by the government, the banks. That's the thing, is it's not backed by banks.
Right.
Okay. And because we know what could happen with the banks. It happened, in the early, whenever that was, 2000, whenever that was.
Hmm.
Uh, and so that's the one thing I like about it. A lot of people don't understand, like, even back in, when did it start? 2000 what?
2008. Talking about
2000,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
First
So
Bitcoin was mined in 09,
oh
2009.
09, and then, back then it wasn't worth much,
Right.
right?
Nah, it was like worth less than a penny, but it was hard for people to get, but it was just so valuable. It's like when you look back at it, it's almost like it was purposely made for you not to think much of it. And then as time goes on, it gets harder to get. Even when you think about buying a Bitcoin at a penny, you can't really just fathom to think about, oh, I'll spend a couple of dollars on this and it goes to 60K. Or even now, people see it at 60,000. Oh, that's too much, or I don't know if it's worth it. Like the fear of it is what keeps most people away. And
Yeah.
then that fear is just like it's like it just all comes together to where it becomes super out of reach for, oh, I'm not gonna say, yeah, it can become out of reach for a person to acquire one Bitcoin just out buying it. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do, but I'm just fancifully understanding how people's minds go when it comes to Bitcoin. Looking at it at less than $1, people would have still thought, oh yeah, that's nothing,
Yeah.
but you look, it's just built in to have to take a risk on something. You got to take a risk.
Okay, so talk about the possible ending time of it. I can't remember what year it was. 20
2,140,
2000 2140, and
2140.
that's when they
That's when
predict, I guess, or they know.
the last piece of Satoshis will ever be mined in
Okay.
2,140. But
So
then
you and
all
I, we're not even going to be around. We're not even going to be around, right? Unless they make a clone of us. And who knows what's.
yeah.
So what? Why should I buy Bitcoin if I'm not even going to be around?
Oh, well, the same reasons why people always invest in things that grow wealth over time. And there's always a few people who just look down the long-term path of your life and you want to be responsible for helping the next generation have some type of a shot. If you're looking at where the economy is going now, and let's say 50 years from now, wow, we can still be alive. But let's just say 50 years from now, you still got Bitcoin and you're 90 something and your great great grandchildren are running around and you can let me get to the Bitcoin and you just see it and you might transition right then and there, but your family sees like, well, here, this is what we have, this is what I have for you all, and it's just something astronomical. You know,
Now, speaking
that's
of that, speaking of leaving Bitcoin to our, children, grandchildren, whatever, that's what I plan on doing because I'm in it for the long run. I've been dollar cost averaging buying it every month now for a long time. I stopped doing Bitcoin for a while and just
Mhm.
went with XRP and Ethereum. But you talked me into, taking what now since the workshop, I don't
Yeah.
buy XRP and Ethereum anymore. I took what I was spending on there and I buy Bitcoin now. And
See how we
because
watch the light? You had to bring you back home.
So because when you did the workshop, that's what did it for me. That's when I understood more about Bitcoin. And I had already been researching XRP and researching Ethereum and hearing things about them. And so it was like, okay. And then, the battle with the SEC just kind of ended not too long ago with Ripple and what shot up 20 cents. And that was great. I loved it. But at the same time, I really didn't know the history and everything behind Bitcoin until the workshop. And when
Right.
you came and did the workshop, not only did you open my eyes, and I was already interested in digital currency, but you opened the eyes of some of the guys in our house, and mainly the couple who's the wife Dakota was asking all the questions.
Yes, man.
Her
Yeah.
and Dalton.
Dalton and
Yep.
yeah, Dalton. Yeah.
Yep. And so they've been buying it every paycheck now. And, we had a conversation, I texted him. I'm like, hey, did you see that, when it dipped down to 50? And he said, yeah, I saw that. He said, I'm buying more now. And I'm like, there you go. That's the way to do it. Cause he didn't panic. He didn't panic,
Yeah.
and you assured us, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. And he's like, he didn't know why. I was like, well, right now, the whole stock market, the Japan market, everything else, everything's kind of going down. And so crypto's taking a hit. I said, but this is good for us because we can buy a lot more right now. So I want to say thank you for coming and doing the workshop for us. Talk a little bit about the workshop. All right. You talked
Wow.
about where you've taken it, been inside prisons, transitional homes. But talk about exactly what, if somebody is an inmate and they come into this class, this seminar all day, whatever it is, what are they going to learn? What are they going to walk away with? And that can help them while they're inside still and when they get out.
Okay, so some of this, what I really feel, the first thing they will have is a real self-reflection moment. Like regardless of money, regardless of anything, they'll have a self-reflection moment of really realizing why. Like I asked a question, whether I'm at a transitional house or prison. How many of you all here are here because of money? Like you could have committed a crime, stole, robbed, killed, drugs, sell drugs, do whatever for money. You could have had no money and you're making irrational decisions, so you steal, rob, kill, do whatever. Majority of crime in America happens around money. So we didn't make the connection, when we make the connection of how long have you been in prison? Oh, I've been in prison 30 years. I've been in prison 10 years, 55, whatever. And when a connection is made that the money that you went to prison over is worth less and you're sitting in prison, that's when you start really thinking like,
So good.
wait a minute. So I went to jail for trying to get, and then this is like petty money, like I went to jail for $1,000 and that $1,000 because they only buy me now 750. Yeah. Like the money loses value as you're losing time in your life. So it's a
Speak on
real
that real quick. Speak on that. Like how much a dollar is worth today compared to how much can they buy today than compared to back then.
I don't know about today, but I do know a guy who went to prison and the dollar was worth like $1 when he went to prison. He came home, the dollar was worth like 84 cents. And that can just be damaging to understand like having a lack of financial literacy is like the engine to commit crime for money because you don't really know it's not worth committing crime over. So we have that. Then there's the fact of just learning what financial literacy is, um, from monetary policy to knowing like how money is controlled by people. You learn those type of things. So we first teach like what financial literacy is, and like I said before, what money is not. Just gotta debunk a lot of myths off of money and why we're so drawn up to money. Like there's a lot of invisible pressure put on it. And you might not know you're reacting to all this invisible pressure. Some of it's make believe, other like it's generally all make believe, but it's hard to see how it's make believe. So then we go into Bitcoin, show the history of Bitcoin. So what people really walk away with is a number one of an awakening. They learned about financial literacy. They learned about what money does not do. They watched that video with Jerome Powell explaining how we're on an unstable fiscal path. They learned about the history of Bitcoin. They learn what the scams are. They hear a real life person who can connect to them and say, "Hey, this is what I do with. This is how we can change." Like we long are the days of, or long are the days where I would just say, "Hey, dump everything in, do this, do that." Like, nah, it's time to talk sense to people, and not saying that I didn't talk sense. It's just help people understand this. This can go real well, but you will have to come to a grips with yourself. Like, for instance, at this current moment, whenever I get paid, I buy 15% of Bitcoin with any type of income, whether that's with the nonprofit, whether that's with the boxing gym, washing cars, whatever, birthday money, it don't matter. So you're developing a saving habit in Bitcoin, but it still takes time. It can grow tremendously from when you start to where you are, but it's a timing thing. And then it's also a inner discipline. You have to overcome the fact of wanting to spend money just because you have it. You gotta, excuse me, but fall in love with being a person who can save money and not have to just go off of how you feel in your vices in the moment just because you have it. So you overcome a cycle. You overcome a real cycle. And you learn about job opportunities in the space because That was always something I paid attention to. People, bro, Bitcoin is great. I'm loving it. This is great information. I don't have a job. So it's hard to convince certain people that investment is great if they can't buy food, if they
Right.
can't have normal everyday needs. So yeah, the job places, job offerings.
So, like, what kind of jobs are there, outside of just investing in Bitcoin? Talk
Mhm.
about the jobs that there are in this space, in this industry.
Well, when we were at your workshop, we had Jose De Hoyos and Logan O'Neill, and Viviana, and Jose Jr. of LFG Mining. And Viviana had a great demonstration of some of like one of the jobs is just to be someone who could do like technician could repair. You gotta be able to read to see how the miner is doing. They have different levels of that, general technician, level 1, level 2, level 3. Um, you have you have a multitude of jobs that I haven't heard about that it can just be jobs that are on site, like wearing a hard hat. What's the word? Like managing a miner, managing a generator. And then there was that guy, I think he came because you invited him, and he said he was delivering miners to a warehouse,
Yep.
and he knew nothing about it.
Right.
So sometimes you could be someone who's working a mining field on a generator, or you could be someone who's delivering. Like I think a good comparison would be like during the gold rush, who made the most money? The guys who were selling the picks and the shovels. You could have a pick and shovel job, or you can create a pick and shovel opportunity within this to be like, oh, so it's not just this one thing. This one thing is the focus, but there are so many other possibilities around just that one thing.
Okay, so let's explain for people that are still just never heard of Bitcoin and mining. Let's explain what mining is. All right. So
all
let's
right,
explain it because they're hearing you talk about repairing stuff for the miners, and they may not even know what is used to mine Bitcoin. So
right.
how do you mine Bitcoin? How can somebody mine for Bitcoin, and what happens when you mine for it and you have you solve the whatever?
There's different levels of mining, from my understanding. We're just gonna deal with something dealing a little more, I guess, easier for people to understand.
Basic, yeah.
So yeah, so let's say in your podcast studio right now, you could be mining Bitcoin. So what Jay would have is a miner, possibly this
which is,
tall,
which is essentially a computer, right?
yeah, a
Okay.
computer. And you have to plug up the computer now. It's not just as simple as putting a socket in the wall. You have to connect to your internet. You gotta do some real technical stuff. I have never done in-home mining, by the way, but I've seen setups. But you have to connect to your computer. You have to connect it to your electricity, and your electricity is what will determine if you'll be able to mine a block. So let's say you've been running yours for about a month, and it you haven't gotten anything. So how the miner actually mines a Bitcoin is solving a very complicated math problem using the electricity of the home or your computer. Is just trying to answer questions all day, all day. And the one time it answers a question, being you're rewarded, your miner is now rewarded with 3.25 Bitcoin. So at the present moment, that's like 180,000 bucks. So that's one way you can mine. It'll be solo in-home mining. Another way is that you could become a part of a mining pool or facility where you have, like they have this out in West Texas, big container buildings with nothing but miners from floor to ceiling, wall to wall, running, running. Fans are running, cooling it down, trying to keep the warehouse cool enough to run these miners. And if that operation might pull several Bitcoins a day, you must disperse the funds amongst everyone else. So that's called like pool mining, or group mining to where we all are contributing to the process of mining. And when we hit, we all receive some payout.
Gotcha.
So it's just a bunch of computers with
Yeah.
fans. You
All
don't
right.
have to really do anything but manage it and maintain
So maintain. All right. So, a lot of miners don't, I assume they probably try if they're in home, they try to maintain themselves. If they're the larger facilities, they probably try, but at some point there's a need for Jose's company that does
it.
all the servicing and maintaining for you. So talk about like, what, because I mean, computers break down, computers
Mhm.
need maintenance. Those exhaust fans and filters probably need to be cleaned, all this stuff. So how does that all translate into, employment and jobs?
Okay. So, long story short, they need people on the site to do it.
Is there
How
a
to
shortage? Is there a shortage? Is there a
there's a
big need for?
demand because there's not I can't even call it a shortage because a shortage makes it seem like there was once a lot of people there.
Okay.
There's a hole, there's a vacuum that needs to be filled. It's an industry that's growing, and as the industry is growing, there grow needs for jobs. There grow these needs that, let's just say, for lack of better purposes, Earth never knew existed. If you have a brand new industry like Bitcoin, which is a very disruptive space, we were even what 15 years in, and it's still new compared to most things. But there's things growing within the newness that most folks in the world don't know exist.
Gotcha.
So there's a demand that's growing that we don't know what the next phase of demand could be. But there's a hole there because, well, if I'm to see if we're all LFG, matter of fact, if you and I and about two other people have a big mining farm and you and I are out there cleaning and trying to sell, do business stuff, it's gonna be impossible. But now these jobs have become available. And what I saw was Bitcoin is a place where most records don't matter. It's a decentralized space, and there's such a demand for it that the pay is differently for entry level. It's a scenario where I believe people coming home from prison, you will be working, but you'll be earning a good. You can be earning a good living while learning about Bitcoin, but also being so early that 10 years from now, the pure knowledge you have becomes just as valuable, even more valuable. Um,
Man.
it's a, it's a it's an entry into a different type of environment that
Okay.
long
So
term can grow.
So if a workshop comes to the prison, my prison or my transitional house, there's going to be history of Bitcoin taught. There's going to be so much knowledge of Bitcoin as it pertains to our country's financial position, future financial position,
Mhm.
and then it's talked about the mining and the industry and the people that are needed to grow that industry, the tech industry, maintenance industry, whatever you want to call it, the repair industry.
Mhm.
And now, okay, you said in 2140 is when it's said to be that the last Bitcoin will be distributed. So what happens after that? Will that industry, that repair industry, just not be needed anymore? Uh, and now just whoever has Bitcoin, or I mean, I know we're not going to be around, so we don't care. But what's the future look like for, you know, you know, generational mining repairmen?
Whew, man, I don't even know
And
what
and
happened.
what are they going to do with all those computers?
I don't know what's gonna happen in 2040, but what I do feel, what I could try to predict, and there was a guy who was actually able to speak on this, but for lack of better words, it feels as if like some of those, if mining itself is not available, there's a part where mining is still, I guess, like a transactional thing.
Gotcha.
So now
Yeah.
sending off Bitcoin, since all the Bitcoin is there. Now sending it off, like the transactions between it, because I mean, you still got to work within the blockchain and all this other grand stuff.
So
But I
at
have
that
no
point,
idea.
at that point, the just all the fees that the transactional fees it will be how people make money off Bitcoin at that point.
And I
Um,
believe some of the mining companies will still have my Bitcoin, and they might turn their business model into something totally different. Like if I'm a mining company, let's say a Compass Mining, and I'm just sitting on Bitcoin up until 2,140, um, there has to be some type of way that that business will morph. And the people who were once like the repairmen of a time, if they have been if they save correctly and stay in the industry, there'll be a way to keep them. I believe
yeah,
to eat.
yeah.
I just can't see it right now. It's
Yeah.
too
No,
far
that's
ahead.
cool. I just like to ask. It's very interesting because it seems like the people I run into, and even a transitional house, uh, well, it's a nonprofit organization that does go into prisons, and they also have reentry out here, transitional houses. And I asked them if they would be interested in doing the workshop, and I was kind of disappointed in his answer. I mean, he's a good friend too, and he said that we try to steer people, we try to steer the men inside prison away from that because it just has always seemed like a scheme, like a scam,
Mhm.
and and so how do you I mean, I knew with my limited knowledge, but how do you rebut that? I mean, how do you and why are we steering? Why are there people steering inmates away from, you know, just another way to invest?
Um, that's the only way they know how to perceive it. Um, and they have a point because all that's shown on television is someone being scamming with crypto, scamming with Bitcoin,
Right.
FTX, Mt. Gox, Silk Road. Like it's just the list can go on and on from people on the media. Like say like this: if governments can control media, media controls people. In my honest opinion, most governments outside of El Salvador understand that Bitcoin is a threat because of the freedom it gives to the everyday person, the freedom aspect built in. Once you start holding or what they call hodling Bitcoin, and you understand like you have like a bit of understanding of what goes on a very basic level, that you now become your mindset is different. So I believe most countries know that Bitcoin is a threat to their to exposing them how their money doesn't work. It's a threat because you control people with money, and you can't control people who have their money in Bitcoin unless you have to go through like very severe circumstances. Um, and online on television, all is plastered around is how Bitcoin has been used for this or is used for that. So it's a lot of people who are uninformed. They may not know anything about it. They could take what they're seeing as face value. They probably have been scammed and got, scared off of it. And so that's another reason why. And again,
Well,
if a lot of people just aren't privy to good information and the good that goes out there, then they're only going to be able to rely on negativity,
yeah.
and there's a lot of shady people in the world. A lot of shady people in politics, a lot of
I've been
shady people.
scammed a
But,
lot with the US dollar too. So I mean,
but that comes with power, you know what I mean? That's like just think about all the stuff that you are able to do with money and people can do to you with money. It's a tool of control,
yeah.
And yeah,
You
so
know
when it
what? You know what though? I've been robbed on the street before and had to give up my wallet. Do you know what I've never had to give up? My Bitcoin.
yeah.
I've never been robbed of my Bitcoin. there's been some scares on Coinbase. When Coinbase goes down, you're like, where'd my money go?
Right. And
But
it's still there. Yeah.
and then I text you, I'm like, let me find out from Justin if he knows where my money's at. And you're like, it's okay. It's all there. It's all there. And it was too, man. It was all there whenever they got through doing whatever was going on at that point. And but it's neat, it's neat because I've followed a few stocks, just regular stocks, and I haven't seen anything that has the return,
Mhm.
even the low risk safe mutual funds, nothing that has the return year after year,
Mm.
and I, of course I follow Pomp now. I mean, I know Pomp, and so I'm hearing all the reports and hearing him talk about it more, and so it's like, and he's just echoing everything you've ever said. So it's just like, man, and yes, I think the government, I think you're right. The government controls the media, and if the government can't control the Bitcoin, then they're going to control the media to do nothing but spread fear to get nobody to be involved in Bitcoin, and man, when I hear when I hear countries talk about, regulating cryptocurrency, that part scares me, because I mean, do you think we'll ever get to that where? Because I know we've been talking about it in the U.S. I don't think it'll ever get to that point. Hopefully, enough high up people have Bitcoin, have cryptocurrency, to make sure that regulated stuff never gets passed. Because I've watched a lot of people who have been anti crypto. Kevin O'Leary was one of them from Shark
Mhm.
Tank. He was one of them, man. And then he ate a lot of crow because he owns a lot of Bitcoin now, or a lot of crypto at least.
Mhm.
And so I know people are getting it. I know people are getting it. And because if I can get it, anybody can get it. Because I'm just but if I when I see people in our transitional house get it, and even
Mhm.
Dakota, I think, was it Dakota that said we should buy Bitcoin now for our children and grandchildren. I mean, the reason we should buy it now is not necessarily just for us, but
Right.
when our economy fails, or when our economy crashes, because we have it, our children will be okay with it. Because two things, I think, in my mind, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is going to make it more valuable. Number one, the unsustainable path that we're on is the U.S. dollar, and then the other one is just the fact that there's only so much left, so the
Yeah.
supply is running out. So those two things are going to make the value of Bitcoin go up higher and higher and higher. So even if you just buy it one time and sit on it and don't ever buy it anymore, at some point the long game is gonna you're gonna win the long game.
Yeah.
So what is the best way? Like somebody just getting out of prison. You got out of prison. You probably didn't have any money. You probably had your gate money. I don't know what they give you in where are you, North Carolina?
They don't give us no money.
They don't get, okay. In Texas, we get $50 when we walk out the unit, and then we get $50 when we report to parole. So y'all don't get anything.
Nah, we don't get no money. They
Okay,
just
Texas, you hear that? Quit griping about getting $100, because they don't get nothing. All
they
right,
don't get
so you know
nothing.
what? All of you, all the other states, write in and let me know what y'all get, whether you get anything when you get out of prison. I want to know, because I know every state has like a wrongful conviction compensation plan. Some states don't
Mhm.
have any. Some states have high. Some states have low. Some states don't have any but I want to know, if when you get out of prison, whatever state you're in, do they give you money? Because $50 don't sound like much, and then $100 total, but it don't sound like much. But then when you talk to people like Justin who don't get any, you
You
know,
know. I don't remember I didn't get not one check.
wow.
Get not one check. We got
Okay,
sent
so
out.
you get out with no money. You probably, I don't know what job you had when you first got out, but when you started learning about Bitcoin, you know, you didn't buy a whole Bitcoin, So how did you start investing in Bitcoin, and how do you suggest somebody who just gets out of prison, who may not have a lot of money, start to invest in Bitcoin?
I mean, by the time I learned about Bitcoin, I had a job. It was a merchandising retail job, 1099 job. Um, and I was so crazy. I just bought everything I could with my check. and then realized I needed to spend it to pay for everyday life. So, I mean, if you don't have a job, if you're just coming home, depends upon your state, because some states give out a lot of different resources. I learned, like the state of Michigan, they'll help you get housing and a car to get to work fresh out. Um, I just happened to come home in North Carolina, and yeah, we didn't get nothing. So if you're coming home, matter of fact, let's say it like this. If you're getting home while listening to this to no money, let's just try to get a job. Let's focus on what makes sense first. Getting employment. All right. Let's be logical because
Yeah. All right. So they got a job. How can they buy Bitcoin? Now I know all the answers to this already, but I'm gonna just help our listeners that. How can they buy Bitcoin?
so the easiest way I feel someone who's getting out who has it now, you have a job, everything is digital, you can download Cash App, and let's say you get paid, I don't know, $300 a week. You might get paid $300 weekly. Hopefully you get more than that, but weekly. You could have it on in your wallet. I mean, have it in your bank account, have your bank account connected to Cash App, bring the money from your bank to Cash App, buy you, $10 to $30, whatever you feel comfortable with. And the reason I suggest that is because I read a book called Profit First, and I read this other book called Smart Couples Finish Rich. And they will always talk about like taking a small percentage out for yourself when you get paid first. Like I got to stress the order first, because then you're paying yourself in the future. And to start out that small, so it shouldn't affect your week to week everyday expenses. Um, because if you're coming from a scenario like that, the reality is you're going to still need cash to operate in the society you're in for, quite some time. Um, you don't want to have to make a lot of taxable events switching over from Bitcoin to USD because you got to sell. So the smartest thing we'll be able to do is just have the mindset of never touching this money for quite some time. Become in love with having money, not just getting money and spending it, but keeping money, or keeping Bitcoin in the terms of money. Um, but yeah, downloading Cash App, having it connect to your bank, buying some Bitcoin from your sending money from your bank to Cash App to buy that with Bitcoin, I believe is the easiest thing someone can do who has a job and that they're home from prison.
That's awesome. All right. Because here's the thing. I mean, you could buy as small as $10, like you said, and that when the value of Bitcoin goes up, the value of your $10 that you invested goes up. So you don't have to be scared off by this. Oh, I don't have enough money to buy $50,000 or $60,000 worth of Bitcoin. That's
Yeah,
why they broke it down so little, I believe, was so that anybody and everybody could have access to it. And
right, right.
even one of our guys figured that out at the, at the halfway house. I think it was
Right.
Steve, and so
Yo,
so I,
Steve, how's Steve doing?
he's struggling, but he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it. He's not at the house anymore. He moved on, but we've kept up with him, but he's gonna make it. He's just struggling a little bit, but he's doing good. And all right,
We've had some pieces.
so what if I'm in prison and I'm sitting here listening to this? I'm like, man, I would like this workshop to come to my prison. What do we need to do? How do we get a hold of this dude? I know who to talk to on my unit. I work in the warden's office, so I can ask the warden. So, but who do we need to contact? What is there an email address? Is there somewhere to write, somewhere to call? What do you suggest?
So the first thing I would do, well, I want to tell you this. What we're doing now, the phase one was a workshop, but going into phase two, we want to what we're going to do is have a lot of the content from like what I did at your house, and what Jose and LFG will be putting together. We want to be able to put it on, some electronic content so it could be on tablets across the country because
Okay.
we're not gonna be able to go to every jail.
Right.
But the content can live on either from basic understanding of Bitcoin to even the career path of, how can I say this? You're going to learn as much as you can about being a mining repair man or technician as you can on a tablet until you get out and transition to be able to go to an in live on hands-on training. So that's going to be huge in Texas. We're looking for it to be huge in Colorado. We're not excluding nobody else, but those are the states that are Bitcoin mining friendly, it seems at the point. But if you would like for this workshop to come to your institution, best place to write out or reach out to is have someone email me, justin@btctc.org. You can go to our website, btctc.org. That email, that website, have anyone contact, they can contact me there. You can either say, hey, heard you on Background Check Podcast as the subject. Matter of fact, that'd be good. Heard you on Background Check Podcast as the subject.
Yes.
Email
Y'all let them know. Let them know that you heard about it on Background Check.
and email me, justin@btctc.org. The Bitcoin transformation community does have a Twitter or X page, and we're on LinkedIn. We can provide you those as well. And you can reach out to any of those sites or email.
Okay.
But email would be better. And yeah, so the workshop will still be something to do, but the bigger focus that we notice is, like, I was in Michigan and a guy said, hey, I know you don't have all your stuff for your workshop, but if you have it on the tablet, we can just watch it here and send you some feedback back. And I was just like, wow, well, how do I get on the tablets? He said, I don't know, but go ask somebody, they'll figure it out for you. I said, we want it, they'll get it for us. I wasn't in the prison era of tablets, and
Yeah.
I'm noticing that stamps are no longer on the yards neither. So hey, look how old I am, right? But
They're still on the yard because some states still have to mail stuff out. Like when I send an application in to the inmate, they can't just scan that on the tablet and let the inmate see it on the tablet. They have to fill it out, have a hard copy. So stuff like that, like they can't mail cards out anymore. They can't mail much out anymore. It's all done through the tablet, e-cards and all that. But they do. There's a minimal amount of stamps. Stamps is kind of like the U.S. dollar in prison. It's fading quickly.
yeah,
It's weakening. The digital part is weakening the stamp.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
that's something funny. I remember going to prison. I said, well, then I said the stamps. They said, we don't have tobacco in the yard. We don't have stamps no more like that. We've really gone down to like just canteen and kitchen supplies. And I was just like, wow, has changed a lot. I guess that sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but um that's really a good focus, because you want people to be able to be touched while they're on their bunk, while they're there, not just, yeah, maybe a couple hundred people can come to the workshop. Then they go back to the yard and the cells and right, he's on Securus or Edovo, whatever out there, and like here's the course, here's this, oh, here's the next level training. You want to build people to come out prepared, knowing, how to tackle the scenario, how to use Bitcoin, how to actually apply themselves, get ready for a job or get ready for training, put yourselves out there differently. So that's our
Yeah.
focus next
All
phase.
right.
Actual employment and transitional houses too. I don't know if like does Securus or Edovo work in transitional houses? I'm not sure, but if there's a way to have, there's definitely a way. But to
Yeah.
have folks in transitional houses learn the same thing,
Yeah.
whether somewhere
And
like
it would just be more like software or a file on our computer, and we can just play it on our computer.
Yeah, you know,
and play it
so
on the TV. It wouldn't have to be with tablets in a transition house. So,
right.
but
So
yeah, there's a
just
way we
have,
could do it.
touching people while before their release, and even like that like purgatory area of getting out, and you get out of prison, but you're not actually at your own place yet. So you got this grace period to really dive in, because that's like as I look at it now, I didn't go to transitional house coming out of prison. I went straight home, and I could see transitional houses, being of great need should they be taken advantage of correctly. And if the correct opportunities are provided to someone in a transitional house, then they have this blessed position to be out, but still have time to dedicate themselves to something, excuse me, to some learning, and I didn't think about I haven't gone to transition house. Matter of fact, your place was the first house I had gone to.
Yeah.
And then I had gone to a Kobe house in Houston, Texas. But it's just a great transition for people who need it. And you would
Right.
like, and what I would like is for some like major gyms to be right there in the transitional house.
Yeah.
Something that the average person might just overlook, but the people are there. You don't know. Like this is different than just wanting to get your CDLs. No disrespect. This is different than just wanting to become a barber. No disrespect at all. What I would like to provide to people in prison, coming out of prison, and in transitional housing is something that catapults you differently than anything else out there that's going to make you use a lot
Yeah.
of your time and put your life on the line for pennies. I just
All
want to
right.
make
So you're an author. You wrote a book called From Bars to Bitcoin.
yes, sir.
And real quick, as we close, tell people what they can expect if they buy the book. What can they expect to read about in the book?
In the book, you really learn my life. You learn my life, how my life. It starts to me in high school. My life took a crazy downward turn. You learn why I went to prison, why I dropped out of college. You hear about some wild prison stories. You see the ups and downs of my life from where I had been. Um, I didn't really notice this, but the book had really captured like 13 to 14 years of my life and how I got into Bitcoin, what made me buy into Bitcoin so much. And you get to hear just perseverance and why I support just never give up on yourself. Never give up on yourself. And then you get to learn some stuff about Bitcoin too.
Okay,
Um,
that's what I was gonna ask was, if you learn some stuff about Bitcoin. Now we know, none of us are Bitcoin experts or financial consultant experts, and do your own research and do all that, but all right. So how can we buy the book? Do you suggest people buy it off Amazon?
well, yeah, you can buy it off Amazon. It is on Amazon. Just type in From Bars to Bitcoin. That'll probably be the best place to buy it, unless you want to buy in bulk. You might want to buy some books to donate them to a transitional house. We've had a company, Compass Mining. They donated 40 books to Kobe House.
All right.
If you're a transitional house, you hear this, you might say, hey, how can we get a part of that?
Yeah.
How can we be a part of that? We would love for our residents to read their story. You can just email me at the same email, justin@btctc.org, and we'll work on trying to get some books to you.
Awesome.
And of course, Amazon is always going to be the easiest way, the online Walmart, as I would call
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, man. Well, Justin, do you have anything else that you haven't shared with us that you think you need to share before we say goodbye?
Um,
Any other new stuff going on in the BTC world?
Not just yet. Not just yet. We're
Okay.
I think I shared some of the best parts that we have and
Okay.
what we're looking to create moving forward.
All right. Well, I am already looking forward to maybe a year or two down the road when we have you on again to hear all the updates and maybe more prisons you've been into. I don't know, maybe some prisons you've already been into we get letters from Colorado, we get letters from Michigan, we get letters from different states. So maybe you've already been in some prisons that see our show on the tablet. I don't know. We'll see.
Sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so there you go. All right.
Next time I'm coming to Dallas, I'll
Yes,
be in
sir.
Dallas.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thank you so much, Justin. And we'll put all the websites and emails and whatever else on the screen for everybody to be able to get a hold of you. So, but thank you for taking the time to come and inform us and
Yes,
share your story again as well. And hopefully we'll get some people, some institutions interested. Hopefully by the next time you come on, you'll be on the tablets. And and hopefully by the next time you come on, maybe I'll be a Bitcoin millionaire. I don't know. We'll see.
You should. You look like you're good on your way, man. You well on your way.
I need to
get there. I need to get there with you. I need to get there with you. So we're all walking this path together.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We appreciate all you do.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Background Check Podcast, brought to you by Forgiven Felons, helping people with a past realize their future. For more information, please visit forgivenfelons.org. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and please don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss the latest episode. I'm Jaden Gum, and this has been Background Check.